Hi, everybody. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, America's #1 small business expert. And I'm so excited to welcome you to another episode of the SmallBizChat podcast. Now, if you are looking for a way to get better at sales, you're in the right place. If you're looking to use your data to boost your brand, I've got an expert here that's going to break it all down for you. And if you think it's time to add a sales team to your business, you're going to want to hear from my next guest because she is going to give you what you need to know before you even bring someone into your organization. Now, if you're looking for ways to boost your sales, you're in the right place. We have suggestions for fixing your mindset about sales. If you're one of these people that just hate sales, and if you're thinking about how to boost your brand, one of my guests says that you need to leverage your customer data so that you can build better sales and customer loyalty. And certainly you want to know how to bring the right person into your organization when it comes to sales. And there's some specific things you need to think about before you do that. And we're going to talk about all of that today. Here on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we talk about how to start and grow a successful small business. My guests have amazing insight to share, and you will get sage advice from multiple angles. The mission of Small Biz Chat is to end small business failure, and that is always our goal. You can watch the Small Biz Chat podcast on my Small Biz Lady Facebook fan page or my YouTube channel. So please feel free to like and share and subscribe because we want more people to get this valuable information. Now, today's guests are David Newman, author of the new book, Do It Selling, and the creator of the Do It MBA mentoring program. Romina Brown, president of Strategic Consulting, SSI, Strategic Solutions, Inc. And our last guest is Kristie Jones. She is president of the Sales Acceleration Group. So I am excited to hear from all of them. Now it's time for me to turn to my very first guest, David Newman. He is the best-selling author of Do It Marketing, and his latest book is Do It Selling. He's also the founder of the Do It MBA mentoring program and host of The Selling Show, a top-rated business podcast with over 300 episodes. David helps professional service sellers land better clients, bigger deals, and higher fees. And that's what he's about to help all of us do. For more information, head over to doitmarketing.com/selling. David, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Hey, Melinda, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, gosh, you are somebody who I have known since before the world knew the Small Biz Lady. So it's such a pleasure to have you here. And I want you to start by telling us your sort of origin/evolution story.
Sure. Well, I had a legitimate job at one point. I had a 10-year inside corporate consulting career, working for big technology consulting, HR and management consulting firms. 2002, went out on my own, figuring I know how to train, I know how to speak, I know how to consult. How hard can it be? And guess what? I found out how hard it can be, because at that point, as an entrepreneur, and of course, I wish I had had Small Biz Lady in my pocket back then, but she didn't exist back in 2002. It's not about doing the work. It's about getting the work. And I was a disaster at marketing and selling, and I hit every brick wall and every dead end. I made every mistake in the book. I made the good ones twice. And it was such a struggle that the evolution of my business was looking back on that poor little struggling corporate refugee and saying, what do I wish I knew? What capabilities, what competencies, what strengths did I lack then that I can now give to people who are newer entrepreneurs or even mid-career entrepreneurs and even a few advanced, very successful entrepreneurs to help them break through to their next level of revenue and results. So it all started, but it started as kind of a hot mess and a disaster.
Right. So you became your own best student first, basically.
Yes.
So how did, you realizing that people need to learn how to sell lead to you creating the Do It the Do It Marketing MBA. Like how did that come about?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I had started out doing a lot of one-on-one coaching. So one-on-one coaching then led to online courses. The problem with online courses, and I think this is still the problem today, my first online course came out 10 years ago. People would buy the course, and Melinda, you know this, and it's just a sad fact of life. People who are information junkies, they buy the information, they download the information, they may even look at the information, but they don't implement the information.
Right.
So rather than say, hey, here's a course, good luck, we've now started to add mentoring and coaching and personalized guidance and accountability. And that's really the secret formula of our MBA mentorship. It's not just teaching it to you. We teach it, we coach it, we do it with you, and there's even some done for you components to it so that people really generate results, unlike passively watching a course or buying an ebook or downloading yet another stream of videos that you're never going to take a look at.
Right, right. So what do you think are people's biggest challenges with sales today?
Well, I think it's very similar to what my experience was, is that we start a business because we're great at doing the work. And I don't think if you ask any entrepreneur, any small business owner, hey, why did you get into the business that you're in? Very few of them would say, because I love selling. I love sales. I hope I get to sell all day, every day, 24/7. Yes, I've got a business that does X, Y, and Z, but man, do I love the sales process. Sales is almost always an afterthought, and sales is almost like a necessary evil. So when I sometimes talk to entrepreneurs and I say, most of the people I talk to, they love the work of the work. They love the work of the work. They just don't like the sales part. And they hold up the sales part like it's a little dirty rat. And it's like, oh, I have to do this. So one of my friends and early mentors, Sam Silverstein, who's an accountability expert, the phrase that I keep coming back to of Sam's is, are you willing to do what you have to do so you get to do what you want to do? And sales is one of those things that we have to get better at so that we get to do what we want to do, which is deliver the main product or service or program of our core business.
Well, okay. So let's say I'm one of these people that hate sales. I'm not, but let's just pretend that I am. What could you do with somebody like me to help me get better quickly?
So one of the first things that we talk about, and this is one of the early chapters in the Do It Selling book, is take the word sales and selling out of your vocabulary. Replace them with two new words: invitation to a conversation. Because no one's afraid of an invitation. Usually an invitation on the other end of that is something good: a picnic, barbecue, cake, singing, bourbon. Invitations are good. No one's afraid of getting an invitation. No one's afraid of sending an invitation. Conversation is also great, because conversations where you exchange ideas, build relationships. Some of those relationships might end up as clients or customers. Some might end up as referrals. Some might end up as lifelong friends. So reframe selling as simply a series of invitations to a conversation about how you can help that person.
I love it. So really, it's sort of like about the service as opposed to the sale, right? That's really what you're getting at. So why is mindset and attitude so critical in sales?
I think the number one thing holding people back is not a lack of strategy. It's not a lack of tactics. It's not a lack of templates. It's not a lack of scripts, because all of those are available in abundance everywhere you look. There's blogs, there's videos, there's courses, there's all kinds of things. This is like reading a weight loss book. Most weight loss books say, you got to eat less and move more. Most personal finance books say you got to save money, tear up your credit cards, and stop spending more than you're earning. But the personal finance books on Amazon and in your local bookstore, endless. Weight loss books, endless. These are both billions and billions of dollar industries, because knowing what to do is not the challenge. Changing your behavior so that you actually implement and do those things, that's where mindset comes into play. So we always work on three things at the same time: mindset, skill set, and tool set. And getting people into action, because action leads to traction, traction leads to momentum, momentum leads to results.
Love it. Love it. So do you think that, a lot of small business owners say they struggle with sales because they're so busy, and like, who's got time for cold calls? What's your answer to that?
So cold calling is a gigantic waste of time, but everything that you have ever bought, and one of the premises of the Do It Selling book is take off your salesperson hat, put on your prospect hat. Would you respond to that initial outreach that you're sending out? If it's batch and blast spam, copy and paste, blow everyone out of your LinkedIn network, the connect and spam people, we wouldn't respond to that. So why in the world, as a small business owner, would you send that out there? But everything that you've ever bought of any significance started with an initial conversation, not a cold call, but an initial conversation based on research, relevance, and relationship. And how to do that research and how to show up on a prospect's radar with something immediately relevant and immediately valuable, where they're more than likely to go, wow, that's something that I should look into. That's something that's probably worth an initial chat. So sending out initial invitations to a conversation based on research, based on relevance, not worrying about making a sale, but really about serving before selling and helping before pitching. That's the key. And then from the helping conversation, you qualify or disqualify them to see if they're interested and to see if they qualify for a sales conversation.
I know that in your book, you encourage small business owners to stop doing crap they hate to reach buyers. What do you mean by that?
Yes. So many times we have this blanket advice. Everyone needs to write. Back in the age of blogging, when blogging was new and that was sexy, oh, you have to write a blog, you have to write a column, you have to write. So many small business owners go, but David, I hate writing. And then we get some other advice. Oh, it's all about speaking. Because Melinda, you're a fantastic speaker. I'm a pretty good speaker. We do speaking to generate leads because it's an awesome one-to-many sales platform. I don't like speaking. I'm afraid of speaking. I don't think speaking is going to work for me. Then we go to technology. Oh, you got to use technology. Technology is amazing. Search engine optimization, social media. You got to engineer your website, lead magnets, funnels. If you don't like technology, don't use technology. If you don't love writing, don't use writing. If you don't love speaking, then don't do speaking. If you don't love networking, both online and in person, shaking hands and kissing babies, for heaven's sakes, don't use networking strategies. Pick one thing. And out of all of those things, by the way, I know there's one thing that you actually not only are great at, but that you probably enjoy. And double down and triple down on the marketing activities and the lead generation activities that you find easy, effortless, and enjoyable, because those are the only ones that will ever be effective.
I love it. I love it. All right. So one more question before we go to break. Is texting a good way to follow up with sales leads?
I think texting is tricky. Texting, all the texting companies will say, hey, texting is great. It's got a 90% plus open rate. Text people, they will get it. I think it depends on how early in the relationship you ask for that cell phone number and you start the texting. I think texting is an earned medium, meaning that you need to build up some familiarity and some trust and some respect for that company who's going to start texting you. You do it too early, or you do it too shallow, or you ask for the sale before you've really earned the opportunity to ask for the sale. It becomes intrusive. That's where you get those hate texts. Like, who the hell are you? And I'm not going to, this is a family rated show, so I can't say some of the other things that I've gotten back from some texts that were not welcome and not well received. But once you're in a customer or prospect relationship, once that customer recognizes your name, maybe they've even been retargeted, so they visit your website a couple of times, maybe they subscribe to some things. There, I think texting is the secret sauce, because texting can be really, really awesome. The open rates and the intimacy and the ability to reply in a format that someone already has in their pocket most of their workday.
I love it. I love it. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk more with David Newman, how to get better at sales, especially if you hate sales. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we will be right back. Are you ready to become a boss? Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady. Click the button below and take my free boss quiz. This assessment will help you learn your entrepreneur type and find the right business model for you. Get this information about the number one asset in your business. Yeah, that's you. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host, and we have been talking about how to get better at sales with David Newman. David, talk to me about the sales process. It is a lot more complicated than it used to be. How many aspects should people be trying to really manage in their sales process?
Well, the first thing about a sales process is you got to have one, meaning that most entrepreneurs, most small business owners, when you say, well, tell me about your sales process, they're like, every sale rolls out on its own. Sometimes it's 3 touches, sometimes it's 7 touches, sometimes it takes 2 weeks, sometimes it takes 2 months. So we enforce our own sales cycle, meaning if you're expecting a short sales cycle and you structure your sales process for a short sales cycle, that's what you will get. If you don't put anchors into the process, if you let the prospect kind of run the show and delay and procrastinate and give you all kinds of excuses and stalls, then you will get a long sales process. What's really important is, without getting into too much detail, you need to be the leader of that sales conversation. Never leave one conversation without booking the next touch point on the prospect's calendar and keep things moving towards a decision. Our job is not to sell products and services. Our job is to collect decisions and to make those decisions clear and strong and calendarized so that you have a monthly goal and you hit that target. You got a quarterly goal and you hit that target, and that leads to an annual goal for your revenue, and you're going to hit that target.
Love it. So what do you think is the best way to drive repeat business and referrals?
I think the first thing you need to do is ask, and also every initial sales conversation needs to have renewal and referral baked into the conversation. Don't make this an afterthought. Don't make this a surprise. So let's say that you're doing a project or a program and maybe it's 90 days. Refer to that initial 90 days as our first 90 days together. And then should we decide to continue, should we go on, here's what phase 2 looks like. So people stop doing business with small business owners when the prospect or when the client thinks they're finished. If you're always painting a bigger, better future, that, hey, there's phase 2, hey, there's more things that we might do together, hey, let's get this piece of business done, and then here's what you have to look forward to. So literally bake in the renewal conversation and the upselling and cross-selling. We call it upselling and cross-selling. Find other ways to extend that value and start talking about that during the first sales conversation, not waiting until the end. And then similarly with referrals, when we ask for referrals, when we expect referrals, one of the ground rules of doing business with us is, hey, Melinda, I assume that if we do a fantastic job for you, that you might refer 2 or 3 other people in your world who are important to you, and that we can serve them in the same way that we're serving you. Would that be fair? Yes, it would. That's the little quick mini talk track. And then now they're thinking, well, who else can I refer? A lot of people think, hey, let's wait until the service is delivered. The peak of their excitement is right after they bought. It is not after the service is delivered. So ask for that referral conversation the moment that you seal the deal.
Now, that's actually information I have never heard before. So go after them the minute they buy for the referral.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, last question for you, David. Tell me, what is the best business advice you have ever been given?
Yeah, this is really, really important. When I was really studying, I had one of my early sales mentors tell me that, David, you are so committed to being a better salesperson. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about being a better salesperson. Be a better person, and more sales will happen. Be more caring, be more curious, be more committed to your prospect's success. And that advice has stood me in very good stead for over a decade.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, David Newman, for being on the show. Your wonderful new book, Do It Selling, is worth a read for sure. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about how to use data to boost your brand. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we will be right back. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I want to welcome you to Small Biz Lady University. Our mission here is to end small business failure. So all of the courses here are about two things: how to become your own boss or how to make money online. So that's what we do here. So whether you want to learn about email marketing and sales funnels, or you're ready to get started with social media selling, or if you're really just getting started with e-commerce, you might want to jump into our How to Sell and Market Online course. Either way, if you want to learn how to become your own boss and do it well, I have everything you need here at smallbizladyuniversity.com. If you have any questions or have any technical problems getting signed up, just email us at support@melindaemerson.com. Take care. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, your host. Hopefully you are watching us on my Small Biz Lady Facebook fan page or our YouTube channel. Please be sure to leave us a comment if you hear something that is worthwhile, or if there's a topic that you would like us to address on the Small Biz Chat podcast. Please feel free to leave that as well. We want to make sure that we are serving you because our mission is to end small business failure. Now it's time to have our discussion about how to use data to boost your brand. Let me introduce my next guest, Ms. Romina Brown. She is the president of Strategic Solutions International, and she is the only female-led Black-owned category management firm on the planet. At SSI, Romina is supported by a global diverse team of trained analysts, marketing, research, and technology consultants with a proven track record of making tremendous impact. Romina has served in various executive marketing and sales positions for well-known brands, including Eastman Kodak, Sara Lee, and L'Oreal USA. In 2004, she formed SSI. Experienced in both corporate and entrepreneurial environments, Romina provides context, insights, and guidance in the development of strategies for diverse industries and levels of business. For more information, go over to ssiconsults.com. Romina, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thank you for having me here today. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and share with you.
Oh, wonderful. So let's just get into it. Tell us, how did you get into category management? How did you become an entrepreneur?
Well, I was roped into category management, but I became an entrepreneur because I always knew I would. There was something there inside of me that just made me, I just felt like the walls couldn't hold me anymore, the walls of corporate America. But I started my career in sales, and then I moved into marketing, quickly recognizing my strength in research and numbers and logic and analytics. I was moved over more to retail strategy and the business development portion of that, which is really mining the numbers, analyzing the data to understand really what's going on in the business and how we can shift the numbers around, understand the numbers in a way that will align with the growth strategies for the company. So I started out doing it in companies. My major was in marketing, and I really wanted to be on the sexy side of the business, the marketing, the product development, the naming, deciding which colors, the photo shoots, the commercials. That's what I wanted to do, but I was better at the analytics. And so, as I say, I was roped into it, but it has become sort of my life's work, and happy to do it.
Now, so you're basically known as a data geek, in other words. So what is the most important data point or that a business or brand should always know and have access to?
You need to know your sales. You need to know your numbers and that of your competitive set. So I'd say maybe the most important number is your sales, your goal. You know, what are you trying to achieve? What number are you reaching for? And then you take that and you work back from that. You build a plan and milestones. So if you're going for $10 million and you're at 1 million now, you want 10 million within the next 3 years. So in year one, you'll be here. In year two, you'll be here. And then unpack what it is that you'll need to do in order to achieve those milestones ultimately for the goal. So I'd say the number one number that you need to know is your goal, but also where are you now?
Mm-hmm. Right, because if you don't know where you are, you certainly can't get where you're going. So talk to us about category management. You mentioned that your company is the only Black-owned category management firm on the planet. So why don't you help the rest of us understand what is category management?
Well, that is true. And I think they sent you that in the bio, but I don't like to lead with that. That is really just a matter of fact, because we are really the best category growth management partner for our clients in the beauty and personal care industry, irrespective of ownership, irrespective of the fact that we are minority owned. That happens to be a matter of fact. But the truth of the matter is that we have been committed to this space, committed to this consumer, committed to growth in this category for the last 20 years. And we are, we're not new to this. We are true to it. And it's not a program for us. We're not checking a box. We're not now doing it because it's a great initiative, but we have been committed to this space and making sure that this consumer is served in a way that they are heard, respected, and products are delivered in a way that really is going to meet their needs. So you talked about what is category management. I mentioned earlier that my strength is in analytics and numbers, but my background was in marketing. I feel like this is a perfect intersection for my skill set. I am able to now use the marketing background along with the numbers and analysis to really drive insights, contextual insights, in a way that no other company has been able to do.
So talk to us about an example of contextual insights, because I still think we're like 8,000 feet above some people's heads. So help me understand when you say a contextual insight, what you mean.
So oftentimes when brands or companies think about category management, they think about the numbers, the analysis of the data, and that really is a rear view mirror. You're analyzing what already happened. So it's tactical. You have to know it. You have to absolutely understand your brand performance and what you're going to do about that at retail. So that's really managing your performance in the category. So that's what happened, the tactical data side. And then there's why is this happening? And that really is more the contextual insights, where you have that cultural fluency. You understand the DNA of the consumer and what's driving their behavior. And it's oftentimes cannot be found in the data. So we're combining what happened, why it happened, and what now should you do about it. So that really is a full view of category management. And we like to say that it's category growth management, not just category management, because we consider ourselves as stewards of growth with our partners.
So when you start getting this contextual data, is that focus groups? Is that phone calls? Is that what? How are you getting this data?
Yeah. So we contextualize it by speaking to consumers, by speaking to the audience that they are inviting. So the audience that this brand is inviting, we talk to them. We run surveys monthly. We conduct girlfriend groups. We conduct discussion groups. We have a content corner in our office where we invite influencers in and talk to them. And here recently, we've launched a new division. It's called Boss Beauty. It's our forward-facing insights capture, where we are at events. We show up where women are gathered, and we create our own events, and we talk to them about hot button issues. So many things inform how consumers buy products, what styles they choose to wear, what shade of lipstick they choose to wear. And so we really want to understand that deeply. So we go where they are. We talk to them in social environments. We have just launched what we call Boss Beauty Curate Tour. And it's a tour where we are able to capture insights, because our brands told us they want interactive insights. We want for you to talk to our clients or to our invited guests about things that matter to us. And we want to hear directly from them. So we marry our survey data monthly with our insights that we capture at live events, as well as at our own curated events and opportunities in our insights corner, our content corner in our office.
Love it. So that really helps me understand fully, what you do. So what do you believe is the secret sauce to a brand success from your company's perspective?
Well, I'll tell you what it has been, what has proven to be, and that is authenticity and performance. So our space, really, we specialize in beauty and personal care. What matters most when you're talking about beauty items is whether or not that the hair care product works in the way that it is intended, and whether or not the shades match properly. So it's really about assortment, product performance that supersedes everything. But also in this digital age, in the age of social media, which has really changed the trajectory of beauty, brands are now able to make an authentic connection with consumers directly. Mm-hmm. And so we believe that's really one of the number one things: performance, then linked to connection to the consumer and what matters to them. So you've had this whole conversation around ownership and Black-owned brands. They represent a small percent of categories, but they really are driving growth in many categories. And we understand from consumers, what matters most is whether it works or not. And then what also matters is that you are aligned with causes that are important to the community. So those are the things that we think are important: brand performance, as well as authenticity and connection with the consumer on things that matter to them.
Well, I want to change the script on you just a little bit. Can we talk about how you can use data really to look at your competitive analysis strategy?
Absolutely.
Because I think sometimes we're always about our sales, our growth, our goals, but how can you really leverage data to check out your competitors?
Well, it's absolutely critical that you do that. And that really is the essence and the heart of category management: understanding how you're performing your own brand versus yourself, but also your share versus the competition. And the retail landscape has shifted so dramatically. We understand that online people are leaning more into that for purchases across all categories, but also now post-pandemic, people are starting to browse more in retail. So the war is won at the shelf. So it is imperative upon brand owners to understand how they're performing, not only versus their own performance, but versus their competitive set. It is paramount that brands outline what brands and products are in their tight competitive set, and that they monitor the sales and moves of those brands on a consistent basis. Sometimes weekly. We know you can't act on weekly, but on that tight set, you really want to be watching what those brands are doing. And you can align what those competitive brands are based on attributes, based on pricing, based on their distribution model, where they are currently sold or where they are intended to be for sale. So it is absolutely critical that brands know who's their competition and who's coming up behind them, even brands that you might not consider your competition yet.
Good stuff. Good stuff. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Romina Brown about what you need to be knowing about your data to grow your business. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we will be right back. Are you ready to become a boss? Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady. Click the button below and take my free boss quiz. This assessment will help you learn your entrepreneur type and find the right business model for you. Get this information about the number one asset in your business. Yeah, that's you. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and we are talking about using data to grow your business and your brand with Romina Brown. Romina, talk to me about how can we analyze our web analytics to optimize our online brand presence and user experience?
Well, we know that so much of what consumers are doing now is online centric, is the omni-channel experience of them being able to purchase products online, and whether they are actually purchased online or not, they are absolutely a critical part of the purchase cycle. So we know that consumers are searching for products online. They're going to look at reviews for products online. So as you're understanding the dynamic and the importance and relevance of the online channel, you can now begin to look behind the scenes at your dashboards, at your analytics to see who's actually in tune with your brand. Who you can find out who your loyal consumers are just by looking at your followers. You can look at the engagement and understand what's up, what's down, what types of posts are they responding most often to, and what really actually drives sales on your e-commerce, because many of these brands are now also D2C, direct to consumer. So you can check behind the scenes and look at analytics to see who is actually buying your brands, who's dropped out of your brands. You can look at the demographics of those consumer groups. You can actually even poll them on your social media accounts. We know that those algorithms control what consumers see. We know that if you even think about donuts, you're going to see an ad for donuts. So yeah, and the fact that those consumers are at your fingertip, you can absolutely begin to measure the movement based on who is moving in and out of your brand. So that's how you use the analytics. And once you know who that is, then you speak their language, you invite them, and then you expand the reach to that same target, to that same group of consumers.
All right, Romina, tell me, what is the best business advice you have ever been given?
The best business advice. I'm like a sponge when it comes to taking notes and listening. I've gotten quite a few personal notes about being more bold, about allowing me to be more bold and confident in business. But I'll say the best business advice I've gotten is about investing in your business. And we have reached a point where it's now critical for us to scale the business. And in order to do that, oftentimes you need to invest. And when you are investing, sometimes that's in front of the revenue. So you have to invest before you make the money, when you're used to a certain cash flow, used to a certain, balance sheet looking a certain way. So I think the best advice I got, and I think it goes anyway, but it's scared money doesn't make any money. You have to develop the plan and work it. And I think that's the best. When you become comfortable, it's time to scale. You've just got to go for it and trust your experience and knowledge that it's going to work.
I love that. Scared money don't make no money. I think that, right. That is on point. Well, thank you so much, Romina, for being here and talking with us, because I think you've given us valuable insights. I think a lot of times on my podcast, I tend to talk about service businesses. So I'm really glad that we've had the opportunity to talk about what some of the retail folks, is particularly beauty, hair and beauty folks, because I know that a lot of women start businesses in that category. So I'm really glad that you gave us that valuable insight. And when we come back, we are going to be talking with an expert who's going to help all of us bring a sales team into your organization. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we will be right back. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I want to welcome you to Small Biz Lady University. Our mission here is to end small business failure. So all of the courses here are about two things: how to become your own boss, or how to make money online. So that's what we do here. So whether you want to learn about email marketing and sales funnels, or you're ready to get started with social media selling, or if you're really just getting started with e-commerce, you might want to jump into our How to Sell and Market Online course. Either way, if you want to learn how to become your own boss and do it well, I have everything you need here at smallbizladyuniversity.com. If you have any questions or have any technical problems getting signed up, just email us at support@melindaemerson.com. Take care. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, your host. And now it is time to talk about sales from a completely different angle. We're going to talk about how to hire your first sales team. And that is something critical, because hiring the wrong salesperson in your organization can torpedo your organization. But also thinking that hiring a salesperson is going to save your business is also a big mistake. So I have a wonderful expert that is here with me today, and her name is Kristie Jones. And Kristie is going to talk to us about how to bring in your first sales team. She is the go-to expert for companies wanting to build, grow, or scale their sales or customer success teams. She started Sales Acceleration Group in 2016 to help owners and founders increase revenue, reduce churn, and be able to scale more quickly. Her 20 plus years as a sales leader in a SaaS space fuels her passion for helping bootstrap and venture-backed founders. For more information, head over to salesaccelerationgroup.com. Kristie, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thanks, Melinda. Excited to talk to you about our topic today.
All right, so let's jump into it. How in the world did you become a sales expert?
I lost my job. Nothing like a little layoff to put the fire underneath you. I spent the first 8 years in retail as a buyer for a major department store, and I lost my job as a result of an acquisition. So we were VC backed. I was all excited about that until we got sold, and I was employee number one let go. So I worked really hard to find myself a new VP of sales job, but the universe conspired to make sure that I was helping other small startups instead of just one small startup.
So when you were thinking about sales, and in particular about bringing on your first salesperson, when should you do that?
Yeah, great question. I work with a lot of early stage startups where we call it founder-led sales. So normally the person who had the brilliant idea, sometimes I call it in their basement or their garage, is the first salesperson, and honestly really should be the first salesperson. So I think the best person to be the very first salesperson is the founder. But at some point, the founder is probably not the best person to continue to lead sales in their own company. They have other hats they need to be wearing. And most of the founders that I work with are tech founders, and so they don't really enjoy it that much. So I think once you've decided that maybe I'm ready to get out of the sales business, I think these are some questions that you need to ask yourself. First and foremost, do you have product market fit? And what I mean by that is, does your product or service actually solve a problem that someone is willing to pay to solve? So do people out into your marketplace see it as a valuable product or service? Are they willing to spend money to do that? I think the second thing you have to have already solved as a founder-led sales leader before you decide to hire your first salesperson. Next thing would be, do you have a process in place? Like, did you figure out sort of how people are going to move through the sales cycle? Did you understand where leads were going to come from? So did you have to pick up the phone and cold call? Did you have to go to a conference? A lot of times you start with your people in your network. So what seemed to get you the best traction? Where did people seem to be the most interested? Where did you meet them, so to speak? So I think those things are super important. How about pricing? A lot of times we have not figured the pricing out yet. And you don't have to figure everything out. Like, pivoting is fine. You don't have to figure out all the things that you need to figure out before you hire for a salesperson. But hey, are people willing to pay? Well, are they also willing to pay what you want to charge? So have we gotten the pricing piece all figured out? Are we going to, charge a monthly fee? Are we going to charge an annual fee? Do we have discounts for multi-year contracts? How about some of those things that need to be figured out? It would be nice if you had some thoughts around marketing. Your first sales. It's hard enough to hire your first sales rep without telling them you have no marketing department. So maybe there are some things that you could do within the marketing situation. Maybe you've got a blog, maybe you've got some sort of articles, maybe you do some speaking, but is there anything that a new sales rep could reference? So I think those are some of the things that you have to ask yourself. And then the most important question, Melinda, that you have to ask yourself if you're doing founder-led sales before you hire your first salesperson is, are you willing to give your baby up for adoption and let someone else raise it?
The age-old question. Can anybody do it as good as me, right? Because we don't really believe people can. But the day you let someone else do it and they do it well, you're like, Lord, why did I wait so long to let someone?
Yes.
do that. So you've talked a lot about sort of like the planning, like the stuff you got to think about before you hire a person. But what kind of traits do you look for in a salesperson?
Yeah, I've been doing hiring in my space for 20 plus years. So I feel like I really truly understand this. The first thing I say is sales is a high rejection sport. So you need resilience. You need to have a positive attitude. You need to be able to get off that lost sale call and pick up the next phone call and let that roll off your back. The fact of the matter is, in the world that I live in, only 18 to 20% of people are going to buy. That's 1 in 5. So you have to be okay with 4 out of 5 not purchasing at that time. I call them NRNs, the not right nows. I don't like to say that they're no's. I just call them NRNs. Makes me feel better. I love lifelong learners. The other thing that's truly important is natural curiosity. And I think I found that there's a tie between lifelong learner and natural curiosity. If you're someone who always wants to know something, you're listening to podcasts such as yours, you're reading books, you're surrounding yourself with super smart people, then you're also probably going to be naturally curious. My son likes to say that I'm nosy. I have tried to work on that with him, but I prefer naturally curious as my politically correct term for that. So I think those are some of the most important things, along with you have to have discipline and consistency. So I like to, as I'm hiring sales reps, even younger sales reps, I call them kids, affectionately kids out of college type sales reps. Do you have some sort of like a self-directed process? Do you have a personal sales process? Do you have a personal negotiation strategy? Do you have a personal prospecting strategy? Do you know what your walkaway point is? I don't normally mandate walkaway points and things like that, but you have to know, like, hey, listen, like, I think this thing is dead in the water. It's time to walk away. The other thing that I found that's really interesting, because I run candidates through a sales profile assessment, one of the things that pops up over and over is mechanical. They have a mechanical mindset. So back in the day, Melinda, and I know you can appreciate this because you and I are sort of the same generation. I used to say, are you more likely to, when the clock radio breaks, are you more likely to grab a screwdriver or a trash can? Top sales reps grab a screwdriver. They may also bring the trash can with them just in case, but they're curious, right? They want to take it apart. They want to see if they can fix it. So mechanical is really good. So I think those are some of the things I look for. I think the other thing that I really like is I like to hire athletes. So the other thing you need is grit and you need work ethic. So I really like those two things as well. I found over and over that even like student athletes, people who've been student athletes and had to balance that work being sports and school being work, balancing that out. Those people have gotten their organizational skills together as well.
Interesting. So what are the biggest mistakes people make when hiring salespeople?
Ooh, this is my favorite. Oh, they're going to be great. I just feel it. No, we are not hiring with your gut. Your gut sucks. It does not know right from wrong. Again, in the world I live in, this one always makes me laugh because these are usually tech founders, right? These are the people who code, they're developers. They have no clue about sales or marketing folks, but they felt it. So we have to have, just like I'm asking people to have a prospecting process, a negotiation process, a sales cycle process, all of those things, you have to have an interview process, right? And you have to take people through the same process every time. First off, from a legal perspective, you want to make sure you're treating every candidate the same, because the last thing you want to do is have a lawsuit because you favored somebody by skipping some steps in a process. So from a legal perspective, you want to have that. But honestly, from an apples to apples comparison perspective, you want to have that. So I walk people through the same process every time. I ask them, I ask the same interview questions every time. I run everybody through an assessment every time. We review the assessment. So you want to have a firm process. Get more than one person involved in your process would be my next tip. So you still, again, as the founder, you still may be running the sales team, but you're building a culture. I like to say, there's a lot of talk out there about cultural fit. I'm actually about cultural add. The best companies out there have a wide variety and mix of employees within their organization because everybody's had a different experience. And the more different experiences you have under one roof, the more likely it is that your product or service will be out there and solve multiple problems from different experiences. So I think you need to bring more people into the organization, but not because you want to see if they look like you or act like you or have the same value system that you do. You actually want different people to be involved so that they can say, I saw this in this person, I saw this in this person. But but as you're building out your first sales team, everybody's going to interact with everybody, right? There is no silos or ivory towers at that point. And so you want to get buy-in from others in the organization. So those are a few things I think you should be thinking about.
Well, what about compensation? Like, are commission-only salespeople still available, or is that just a misnomer and foolishness? I mean, what do you need to be thinking about in terms of what are you going to pay these people?
Yeah, good question. In the world that I live in, the SaaS software world, we're on a 50-50 split. 50% of total compensation coming from a base salary and 50% coming from what we call variable compensation. And so you have to kind of start with that base salary, and then you've got to build the variable compensation to sort of match that. Pre-pandemic, I thought we could get people at what I would affectionately call it a reasonable rate. Then we could get them at a really reasonable rate during pandemic, right? Because a lot of people lost their jobs, unfortunately, during that period of time. And so we had we had an overabundance of supply and not as much demand. So unfortunately, the candidate lost out in that financial race. But coming out of that, when everybody got back to work, back to the office, we supersized some of those salaries. I was seeing 15, 20, 25% increases in 2022 versus 2019. And I think they're stabilizing now. But this goes back to, like, this is the old adage, right? This is not sales, sales super secret stuff. You want to pay for what you need. But I recommend that my founders not only play that part of that variable compensation. Sure, that should be a percentage commission. You should be paying, let's say 8 to 12% commission on gross revenue. Maybe you're paying on profitability, gross margin. Maybe you're paying on those type of things. But save a little bit of money for when you need it. So meaning that maybe you're trying to roll out a new product and you want to incent that product. So if they sell this product on top of that, or they add it on to the sale, you can get them a little spiff. Maybe you need 2-year contracts. Maybe you're having some churn issues. Maybe some customers are churning out and you would like to see 2- and 3-year contracts. Save a little money for an incentive to say, for every 2-year contract you get, it's an extra $1,000. So the compensation thing is very, very tricky, but in general, in my world, it's a 50-50 split. But I always say the variable piece can be a little bit tricky, but save enough money for when you need it.
Love it, love it, love it. Now, when should you think about a sales manager versus you as the business owner managing, like, the sales folks?
Yeah, so I got a pretty strong opinion on this. In my world, again, 4 or 5. And I think that's just because they deserve a full-time sales manager. If you're doing founder-led leadership, then you don't have time for 4 or 5. You really don't. Like, they're not there when you need them. In a lot of cases, the clients that I work with bring in a fractional sales leader. Again, call it part-time sales leader or interim sales leader. So, when you're around the $1 million mark, when you've got 4 or 5 people, when you really don't, when you as the leader, who's probably the founder, when you decide that, listen, like, either I'm not good at this anymore, right? Remember, if you weren't the best salesperson as the founder, you might not be the best sales leader as the founder. It's time for expertise help. You're absolutely going to bring in a full-time sales leader if a VC firm invests in you. So if venture capital money is coming your way, the first thing out of their mouth is going to be go replace yourself.
Love it. All right. And then last question for you. What is the best business advice you have ever gotten?
Yes, I am going to credit this to Edwin Ammerman. I will call him out on the podcast. He taught me this years and years ago. It has to be all about them before it can be all about you, before it can be all about us. So put the prospect first.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Kristie. You have just really given us so many really insightful pearls, and I just appreciate you. But don't go anywhere, because what I want to do now is bring back our other 2 guests, David Newman and Romina Brown, and we are going to have a little panel that I call Hit It and Quit It. And this is going to be really fun. So I'm going to ask each of you the same question. You're only going to get 30 seconds to answer, and you cannot repeat anyone else's answer. So if someone steals your answer, tough luck. Come up with something else. All right. So David, since you've been on ice the longest, we're going to come to you, then Romina, and then Kristie, and then we'll change it around each question. So our first question to you, David, is what is your favorite podcast? What is your favorite podcast?
I'm going to say my buddy Jake Thompson has a fantastic show called Compete Every Day. And he's a fantastic small business owner, entrepreneur, has all kinds of fascinating guests on. Compete Every Day, hosted by Jake Thompson.
Like it. I've never heard of that one. It's good stuff. All right. Romina, favorite podcast? You're muted.
Unlocking Greatness.
Okay.
Unlocking Greatness by Z Clemens, I think is her name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Kristie, what's your favorite podcast?
My First Million. 2 podcast hosts that are coming out of the MySpace. So a week doesn't go by before I don't hear from those 2 guys about what's going on in the tech world.
Love it. My First Million. That's another one I've never heard of. Good stuff. All right. Second question. Romina, this is coming to you first, then you, Kristie, then you, David. What is your favorite business app?
Oh, gosh. It's very specific to my industry, and it's a UPC scanning app. It helps us to stay abreast of what are the new items, what are the new products, helps us stay on top of innovation and trends. UPC Item DB. Very specific to category management.
I'll take it. Kristie, what's your favorite app?
I think Slack. I run about 4 or 5 clients at any given time, and I'm on everybody's Slack app, so helps me stay connected to my clients all day long.
Love it. David, what's your favorite app?
Similar to Slack, except I have kind of an allergy to Slack. So it is Workplace, Meta Workplace, formerly Facebook Workplace, and specifically Workplace Chat, which is just kind of our internal communication process. And it is super handy, super easy, very low tech, and it does the job.
Awesome. All right. Third question. Kristie, this one's coming to you first, then you, David, then you, Romina. What is your favorite old school marketing tip?
Oh, handwritten notes.
Love it. All right. David, what you got?
I'm going to quote my buddy Larry Winget and say its secret is 2 things. Thing number 1, be really, really good at what you do. Thing number 2, ask a lot of people to buy.
Okay. Romina, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
I think it is sampling. So sample a portion. You have to reel them in, give away a little bit first, sampling, and then have them experience the goodness and bring them in. It's kind of like for the movie American Gangster with the blue magic when he was giving it away. So give it away first, sampling.
Love it. All right, last question. David, you're first, then you, Romina, then you, Kristie. What is the best business book you have ever read?
Well, Melinda, it can't be yours, and clearly it can't be any of mine. So let's go to Seth Godin and Lynchpin. That's probably one of the most underrated Seth Godin books, and I think it's among the best.
I like that one too. All right, Romina, what do you got?
This is a book. It's actually not a business book, but it certainly transcends everything. I think it's a book by Tim Grover, and it's called Relentless, From Good to Great to Unstoppable. It's a book about sports. He was a trainer for Michael Jordan. I can listen to it for me in business, as well as my son can listen to it as an athlete. It really just talks about what is required for you to be relentless, from good to great to unstoppable, and the dedication that it requires. And that book I absolutely love.
I love that book too. Yeah. All right, Kristie, what do you got? What's your favorite book?
Yeah, I would say not exactly a business book either, and maybe not even under the book category per se, but Brene Brown has a taped seminar out there called The Power of Vulnerability. And I spent a lot of time listening to that. I think before you're going to be the best at anything you do, you have to know yourself. And that really will help you really understand what your triggers are, where your vulnerabilities are. And I think we all would, if we all understood ourselves better, we'd all be more successful.
I agree with that. And my favorite business book is actually Disrupt You by Jay Samit, because he says in order to disrupt the world, you have to start by disrupting yourself. So I completely concur with all of your books. Listen, thank you guys so much for being on the Small Biz Chat podcast. You guys were awesome. Thank you to my guest, David Newman, author of the new book, Do It Selling. Please go out and grab your copy. If you are in any kind of need of category management or working on your retail brand in the beauty or personal care space, check out Romina Brown and Strategic Solutions International and follow her on Instagram at I Am Boss Beauty One. And also thank you to my guest, Kristie Jones. If you're interested in getting help with sales, head over to salesaccelerationgroup.com. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of the Small Biz Chat podcast. If you are an aspiring author, speaker, coach, or consultant, I want to invite you to Philadelphia this September for Brand in Demand Live, September 21st through the 23rd. I am going to teach you what you need to do to elevate your brand so that your best target customers will find you. I want you to get the spotlight that you deserve. And I'm going to teach you everything I know as a national brand so that you can do it too. If you're interested, head over to smallbizladyuniversity.com/brand in demand live. I cannot wait to host you in Philadelphia at the W this September. Now, the mission of the Small Biz Chat podcast is to end small business failure. And I will leave you with this. You never lose in business. Either you win or you learn. God bless everybody.